Could Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir be sanctioned by the US? At least 2 US politicians have asked the United States to impose sanctions on Pakistan's military ruler, General Munir. Now, Californian Congressman Ro Khanna has called on the US to sanction Asim Munir along with any military rulers in Pakistan over transnational repression. Mr. Khanna says Asim Munir and the Pakistan Army is targeting American families of Pakistani origin who are pro-democracy activists and that the Pakistani elections were rigged and Imran Khan is still in jail. Mr. Khanna has also called for sanctions under the Magnitsky Act that's used for officials who engage in human rights abuses. Congressman Greg Kasar is another congressman who's called for sanctions against the Pakistani establishment for corruption and human rights violations. So what does all of this mean? Will Pakistan be under sanctions? And if they indeed were under sanctions, what would it mean for the Pakistan military and for Imran Khan and his freedom? To talk about this, I have with me today Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj of the JNU and Major General Ashwini Sivach, and of course, Deepak Badana, my colleague here in the studio, who tracks the Pakistan military very closely. General Sivach, Pakistan under sanctions, I know you're going to burst out laughing because Pakistan is a country that's been under sanctions for the last 60 years, but has managed to come out every time. Do you believe this threat of sanctions now by the 2 US politicians is anything to go by? Is it of any serious concern? Would the Pakistan military, General Munir, be really worried about what they're saying?
Sandeep, not at all. See, as far as it's a laughable. As far as Pakistan army is concerned, what General Asim Munir is doing nothing very new, what his predecessors have not done.
Yes.
You know, throughout the time when the Pakistan has got independence along with India in 1947,
yes.
You know, 50% time it is ruled by the Pakistan army directly,
yes.
and 50% time it is indirectly.
Right.
So, you know, everyone knows that every country has an army, but in Pakistan, the army has a country.
Right.
The actual power in Pakistan does not flow from Islamabad, but
yes.
it flows from General Headquarters, Rawalpindi. So,
right.
saying that there are human rights violations taking place, whether it is in POJK, Gilgit Pakistan, or in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or in Balochistan, this is not new. This has been happening. The elections have never been, one can say, fair. The elections which were held 5 years earlier were again rigged, but they were rigged in favor of Imran Khan. But this time the elections were rigged in favor of PMLN. So the question is only that they are rigged for whom? Otherwise, rigging has been a part and parcel of Pakistan politics. And as far as the Chief of Army Staff is concerned, it is very, very important for Pakistan to maintain good relations with him.
Yes.
Remember that the Pakistan army is the closest to the American army in South Asia. They have the best of the relation because after the Russians have come in Afghanistan and thereafter, they have always maintained the best of the relation. The training is being done jointly. Also, a lot of weapons and all were given by Pakistan to Pakistan by America. So the point today is General Asim Munir has recently gone to US and he stayed there for 7 days.
Yes.
Now, a chief of army staff of a nation staying in a country like US, which is a superpower, for 7 days, it is something to watch out. The reason is simple. The Pakistan is again becoming a frontline state because what is happening in Iran and Afghanistan is a cause of concern for America, and America need bases in Pakistan, and Pakistan is more than willing to give it because it is in economically disaster. Today it is in such a crisis that the debt is more than $200 billion. So therefore, for giving them the bases in Balochistan is not a big deal. So therefore the question comes here, US is going to make full use of Pakistan and Pakistan bases to keep an eye on Iran and Afghanistan, the way the geopolitics is taking place in West Asia. Now, overnight, Pakistan has again become a frontline state.
Absolutely. So, General Sivach, you've hit the nail on the head there by saying, that how Pakistan manages to bounce back every time because it simply is the frontline state. Either it's the war on terror, it's the war against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, it's the, the alignment, the realignment of the US with China. And in this case, it's this new emerging frontline status that it seems to be getting because of the insurgencies in Iran and Afghanistan, of course, the Taliban. But Deepak, that list that you were going over just a little while ago, what does it tell you about the number of sanctions that Pakistan has been under, especially the military?
I mean, it's incredible how they've managed to get their way out of
1965 to 2024.
I mean, they were sanctioned when they did their first atomic blast.
Yes.
They've been sanctioned under, every single rule. And in fact, the US would have to meet some, US president would back in the day, have to make some exception every single year.
Right.
Under
a waiver, right? Yeah. A Pressler, a Brown amendment.
The Pressler amendment.
The Pressler amendment comes in, then you have a
Brown
amendment.
Wherein the US president would say that yes, Pakistan is not using its nuclear program for any untoward thing. All the while that Pakistan was supplying nuclear materials to Libya, to North Korea.
Yes.
And even so, Pakistan was the primary recipient of a lot of American aid, particularly like financial.
Right.
So they've made their way out every single time. But to me, one of the things that is curious here, that for all the talk of pivoting away from the US, the Pakistani military establishment is deeply linked to the US.
Yes.
I mean, recall Papa John's and General Qamar Javed Bajwa.
Yes, of course.
So
the best place to invest your money in.
So in case these sanctions do come about, the Pakistani military is going to find themselves in a very uncomfortable place, something that they've never really faced.
Right. But, Professor Bharadwaj, the Pakistan military and sanctions, it's like saying that, Pakistan military, it's like part of daily life for them for the last 60 years. So why do you think that this new threat by these two US politicians, of course, they have taken up cudgels on behalf of a very brave Pakistani journalist who's presently in the US and he's facing grave threats to his family. That's Wajahat Saeed Khan. But the larger picture of the Pakistan military under sanctions over the last 60 years, as we've just been discussing, doesn't seem to be a very happy one. They've learned to live with sanctions. They've learned to fight with the, run with the hares and hunt with the hounds. Tell us why you don't take this very seriously, 2024 sanctions against the Pakistan military.
I will come on this point later, while I will talk about the sanctions and while I'll talk about the US carrot and stick policy. The way they have the sanctions are always used as a means to take favor from the military generals, the military Pakistan army. That has been the history of Pakistan-United States relations.
Right.
But we come before that, why Pakistan army so important in Pakistan, and why the democracy could not institutionalize in Pakistan. Of course, that Pakistan's movement was not a democratic movement at all.
Right.
And the way Pakistan was created was not created by the popular elected democratic leaders. Jinnah was never a choice of the Muslims in northwestern provinces of Pakistan, and Muslim League was never voted to the two-nation theory. That is the background you can see. And what happened that because of these weak democratic institutional setup, that in Pakistan the army has become the habit of the awam. And why it has become the habit of the awam, that there are two factors are working at a time. One is, of course, that the Pakistan army always created a fear psychosis in the minds of the Pakistani people, that India is a potential threat. India is a threat to the interest of Pakistan, and it is only Pakistan army who can bring and fight against India for the Kashmir. And Islam is also in danger. That is one theory they always work and they sustain themselves. And second theory, that whenever there was some resistance within Pakistan, they have suppressed by force in Pakistan. And you have seen in the recent past also, the first time the establishment has been challenged by the Imran Khan and his brigade, that and the way it has been attacked the army establishment in recent past. So you can see, but it has been again suppressed by the Pakistan army. Now I'll come with the Americans. Americans had very clear interest in this region, South Asia.
Right.
During the Cold War period, you can see that they wanted to contain USSR, and for that they were giving any kind of relief or any kind of support to the institutions who can support the Americans' interest in this region. And Pakistan army was willingly supporting because they did not have democratic support, and they were having the problem of legitimacy.
Yes.
Now China is emerging as one of the another factor in South Asia, and now Americans, they want to contain Chinese in this region. That is one factor that they are cultivating and trying to cultivate the Pakistan army and Pakistani military generals, and that they are not bothering about democracy. While I'll talk about democracy in the virtual democracy summit, what they did, they did not invite Bangladesh, but they invited Pakistan in the virtual democracy summit. So the double standards of the US can be witnessed. Now it is coming that while you are talking about the Americans sanctions and all that, they want to who is asking sanctions? The Pakistanis who are not living in Pakistan, they are living outside because they cannot speak, they cannot raise their voice being in the country, and they are raising from America. But why Americans can take it seriously? Because America is facing elections, presidential elections, and in the presidential elections, a large community from South Asia are based in the United States, and they were definitely looking support for from these immigrant South Asian community, including the Pakistani Muslims, in the elections. So there could work, but it would work very for the short time. But the long term, that Americans have very close and very deep interest in South Asia. One, of course, I talked to China, and second is war on terror, and that there General Siraj already talks about Afghanistan and Iran. These are the two countries that you can see, and of course there are also issues, Xinjiang province of China, the Muslims, and there are multi factors they are working, that the American interests are always intact, and Pakistan is remained always frontline state.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Professor Bharadwaj, for putting that in perspective. America's interests in Pakistan, it's always been there for the last 50 or 60 years. That explains the reason why Pakistan seems to get a free pass every time it does something, whether it is building nuclear weapons or promoting terrorism across the border, or indeed in this case, as it emerges, repressing its people, rigging elections. But thanks very much for that perspective, General Siraj, Professor Bharadwaj, and of course my colleague Deepak in the studio here with me. Asim Munir under fire. How long? We'll be watching.